Hi, my name is Sushma Bharat, and now with us we have the ex-head of Xbox and current stand-up comic extraordinaire, Anshu Mor.
Hi.
Hi, Anshu. Thanks for being with us today.
It's a pleasure.
So, starting things off, in your current industry, people see the stardom, they see the fun life, the exciting, but they don't see the struggle that it takes to get there. What has been your story? What do you think that people are really missing out on when they see you?
I think people don't miss out on anything. They see what they have to see, which is us on stage under a spotlight and just doing what we do. But my story has pretty much been the same as any other artist, which is that when you get into a field like this, you have a lot of confidence. And that's the reason you kind of quit things and get into stuff like this. Right? When you think you're very, very good at whatever it is. So I also thought that I was very good at stand-up comedy. I could make people laugh and all those things. And then I went on stage for the first time. And I bombed. Like there was like dead silence. Like, nobody was even smiling when I went up. And it happened again and again and again and again. And that's when you realize that just confidence is not good enough. You have to understand the craft, right? And I think that's the struggle. The first initial struggle is to understand where you are in your craft and then to become better. And it's very, very difficult, especially in a field like ours, primarily because there is no other way to learn this craft other than to bomb in front of audiences. So you have to get up on stage and fail and, get this ego-crushing, soul-crushing experience of nobody laughing at your jokes. And that's how you learn. So you keep going back, keep going back. That's the initial struggle. I think the struggle which happens after that, after you've kind of established yourself and people start recognizing, is to keep it balanced. Because I was coming from a very different world, which is a corporate world, right? And for me, this whole people recognizing you, people taking selfies, etc., was not a thing, right? It was not something that happened to me anytime. So when it started happening, I used to have a conversation with a lot of other comedians that, this can get to your head. Very easily can get to your head. If you're sitting in a coffee shop, somebody recognizes you and comes over, it just gets to your head, right? So keep that balance, I think, is the second bigger challenge or the struggle to get this going.
Okay. No, I think it's an interesting point you brought up about this generation as well. And coming from your experience, what do you think this generation has a surplus of?
Confidence, I think. I think it's confidence. What I've realized is that and I get to speak to a lot of young people because of the shows and after shows and stuff like that. And most of them come back, we start, for some reason, we start talking about career and following passion and what they can do in their lives. And I've realized one thing, there is a lot of confusion because there are too many opportunities. Like when I was growing up, there were only two or three, right? Become an engineer, become a doctor or whatever. But now there are too many opportunities. So there's a lot of confusion with young people, no doubt about it. Like they're not sure which way to go. But there is also this unique confidence that they have that whichever way they go, like they'll try, they'll fail, they'll try, they'll fail, but eventually everything will get sorted out.
Mm-hmm. So passion seems to be the driving force there. Yeah. I mean, what do you think really constitutes passion?
See, passion, I think first of all, passion for some reason is a very romanticized word these days. Everybody thinks that passion means that there's some filmy moment which is going to happen into your life and then everything's going to be rosy. And then the other notion is that if you want to follow your passion, you have to quit working and do something else. Like quit a job and then do something else to follow your passion. I don't agree with both of them. I think there's an initial romance that you're following passion. There's that excitement that, hey, I'm finally doing what I want to do. But it hits you very hard, very quickly when you realize, what the struggle is to make a career out of it. And second is this notion that, it has to be something in the artistic field or some other area. I don't think so. I've seen a lot of people, even in corporate life, who are very passionate about the industry they're in or passionate about the company they're in.
Yeah. We talked about how this present generation definitely doesn't have a lack of confidence. Yeah. But what do you think is the gap? What do you think that they do not maybe lack is a strong word, but where do you think is the place that they can truly improve upon? And here I'm talking about it from a much larger perspective, from your experience in the corporate world, from your experience of just your audience, from just generally.
I think the biggest gap is understanding how to make your passion into a career. That's a huge gap because a lot of people, a lot of youngsters, and actually for any age, doesn't matter, somehow jump into these kind of things saying, hey, this is my passion, I'm going to love it. And over time, especially in artistic fields, they tend to get into this zone which is like, I'm an artist and I don't care about anything else. And eventually then they stop making money out of it, or they don't even start in some cases. And when the money is lesser, then the frustration comes in. And when the frustration comes in, everything which is negative comes into play, right? Which is they start looking at others and the jealousy and the politics and all of that. And that's the gap in understanding how to make money in the business that you are getting into.
I think then to take on from there, this has been an extremely interesting year for lack of better words. I think most of us are not even sure if it's in a year and a half. We've all lost track of time. If you had to do a set about edtech, the forced edtech that has also happened where we've all had to start moving online, and the pandemic and students and 2020, what do you think what would be the big line for that?
It's a very interesting question. I think the major hook around which the entire thing would be the online experiences that everybody's had, and then the experiences with your own family. Like I thought I knew my wife. We've been married for 23 years, and then for the first time during lockdown, I heard her on office calls, and she was a very different woman. Like, I used to think she was very caring and stuff like that, and then I saw her playing politics. I was like, who are you types, you know? So the whole hook and the whole center would be around these experiences that everybody has had. I think the first part was staying with the family. With everything going great, it was still a problem. And online, my son has been doing classes online. He went to college, by the way, in 2019. He was very happy. He was like freedom and all. Then came back in March of 2020. And these guys are not studying here. These guys are just having it's just logging into something. Everybody's cameras has gotten off for some reason. The moment they get into a class, the laptop shuts down or whatever, the camera shuts down. I think those would be the hooks around which.
To wrap up, I read somewhere that the movie Tamasha has really inspired you. Can you give us a little bit more on that?
It's actually a true story, without exaggeration. There's no exaggerations in this. We went to see Tamasha on a Sunday evening, 2016. And while we were coming back in the car, I was having a conversation with my wife and my son about following passion. Yeah, because the whole movie was about following passion and stuff like that. And there was a point in the car when my wife asked me, she said, you keep talking about following passion. You've done that before, you're doing it now. If you were allowed to do whatever you have to do, then what would you do? And I was like, I would be on stage holding a mic. I didn't even say making people laugh. I was just like, I'll be on stage holding a mic. And she said, what is stopping you from doing this? And I was actually nothing. And she said, then why don't you go ahead and do it? And that was the end of conversation. This is in the car while going home. When we reached home, there was no conversation around this. Next morning, she was getting ready to go to work. In fact, she was just heading out of the house. And I just told her very casually saying, hey, I'm going to resign today. And she just looked at me and she said, good, fine, go ahead, do it. And I went to office and resigned. That was it. It was as simple as that, that I just quit and said, hey, I'm just going to become a stand-up comedian now.
Oh, that's okay.
A lot of people don't believe it, but that's a fact. Yeah.
And I think and finally to close, what would be your advice to this generation who has just really been caught up in things that they didn't want to be caught up in, pandemic and learning and passion and just so many choices. If you had to just say one line to them, one diktat to live by, what would it be?
My one advice to this generation is whatever they decide to do, they have to understand it's a long game. Nothing comes easy. Success won't come easy. Celebrity status won't come easy. Business profits won't come easy. It's a long game. So they're willing to invest their time and energy and hard work into doing what they think that they want to do. then they should go in for the long haul. It can't be as simple as just saying, hey, just because I decided to become a comedian, doesn't matter. You still have to go through the cycle.
So, Anshu, thank you so much for your time and thank you for your words of inspiration. I'm sure it's going to be really great for our viewers and I'm sure it's going to have a lot to take away from it. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.